here with Canon Giles Fraser, Chancellor of St Paul's, to talk about the changes pending in marriage legislation which are likely to affect gay marriage and civil partnerships and the Church of England's response. Giles, what's your view?
Well, I think it's wrong for the government to try and impose gay marriage on churches. I think the churches have to decide for themselves if that's what they want to do. And I'm free to argue for that, and that's what I would like to do. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I think we should have gay marriage. In the Book of Common Prayer, there's 3 reasons for getting married. One is to have children, the other is to promote monogamy, and the third is for company and mutual support. Well, gay people require company and mutual support. It's good for them to have an institution, for people who are gay to have an institution that promotes monogamy, permanent, faithful, stable relationships. So we're left with the children question. And of course there are a great many people who can't have children who get married, and we're happy to welcome into the institution of marriage people who are perhaps too old to get married, or people who can't have children. So I think this is about love and celebrating love, and that's the great precious gift that we're given. And people think too much that it's about sex, but it's really about love. And yes, I think the church should have gay marriage.
Assuming it's now going to become legal for a religious building to be used for a civil partnership ceremony, would you be prepared to conduct one of those? I'm
only prepared to conduct a ceremony when it's within the discipline of my church to do so. So I will obey by the rules of my church, and the rules of my church at the moment say that that's not a possibility. So I will lobby for them to change, but unless they do, I won't.
But many people will, won't they?
People will?
Yes.
I suspect they will, yes.
And what will be the church's response to that, do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't know what the legislation is going to be, and I mean, I think we don't know yet what the legislation would look like, and quite how the churches, will be exempt or otherwise from that legislation. I think the church at the moment is not quite sure how to react to those people that do sort of services, pastoral responses to civil civil partnerships. To civil partnerships. I think the church is not clear how to respond to civil partnerships. And those people who do respond pastorally, there's a sort of quite a bit of negotiation that goes on here.
Now, if the government decided to make civil partnerships equivalent to marriage, basically to remove the difference between civil partnerships and marriage, how would that leave the church? Because, of course, the church, as the established church, has to marry baptised people, doesn't it, to ask for a marriage?
As I say, I don't know what the legislation would look like, and I mean, I also say that I think it would be wrong if the church was obliged to do something that the vast majority of people in the church felt uncomfortable doing. So I would find myself resisting any law that tried to impose that upon the churches. And I understand where your question is coming from, and it does make me nervous that the state might try and impose values upon the church that the church hasn't decided for itself.
And given all the biblical, well often repeated biblical prohibitions, or to assume to be prohibitions, against homosexual love, how do you equate your own support with gay marriage with those?
Well, I actually think the Bible speaks in many voices about this, and there are some passages that seem to be quite clear against gay sex. There are people who argue that actually it's about a certain sort of prostitution, or that it's a certain sort of that it's a sort of forced sexual act and so forth. But I think the Bible doesn't really discuss permanent, faithful, stable, loving gay relationships. That's not something that's really within its sights. And I think that's something that we have to grapple with the material we have in the Bible, which talks about other things.
And do you think you have a chance at all, you and other people of your same desire, to change the church's mind on this issue?
Well, the church is changing its mind on this issue. I mean, and the whole country is changing its mind. I mean, the attitudes in this country to homosexuality have changed radically since the Wolfenden Report in the back end of the 20th century, and they will continue to change. America is leading the way. I'm a supporter of Gene Robertson. I thought it was absolutely right that he was made a bishop, and that was within the process of the of the Episcopal Church, and I applaud that. And I think that the Church of England will move towards a greater appreciation of gay people in its life and celebrate their love for each other.
And what about the divisions that this issue is causing in the church? Do you find that tragic?
Well, of course. I mean, division's absolutely tragic, and it would be great if we were of a common mind, but that's never been the case in the church. I mean, the church has always been a place where people disagree about values and what's right. There's never been some golden age you hark back to when the church wasn't disagreeing. And one of the issues about which we disagree today is this one, and it's such a raw and visceral issue because sex is such a raw and visceral issue for most people. So yes, I think the church will get over it, and I think in the end we will see a increasingly greater acceptance of gay and lesbian relationships within the church.